All right, so I was just watching a new program by the Intercept called Systems Update, and this is with Glenn Greenwald, and it had Edward Snowden on, uh, and I personally, uh, because I think critically, because I view things. I view things in a very different way. I'm not a person who fears mass surveillance in itself. I fear the people who whose motive is to place the mass surveillance for their personal gain or the gain of those whom they want to whom they believe to be have the power and the influence, um, who want to control things for whatever insane, uh, less than critical or crucial thinking, which is basically I'm claiming that these people are stupid, self-centered, egotistical, egomaniacal, megalomaniacal, and they're basically a danger to their own society, whom they're supposed to be leading, as well as the world at large. Um, so, as I said, I don't fear mass surveillance because I think there's a lot of things that mass surveillance could do if it is done with people who are given the privilege of representing and guiding us, guiding and not ruling, but guiding us to a sustainable, equitable, moral, ethical, principled future, where we leave the physical ecosystem and our social, mental, emotional, and physical well being better than it was. But that's not what we have. What we have, and that's something that we have never had really, because for liberalism is is a shallow uh, pool of uncritical thinking, of of this of this of this emotional uh, idiocy that doesn't take into consideration all of everything, and doesn't consider all the ramifications. Leftism also often does this as well. The conservatives and the right, especially those on the right, and these so-called centrists or neoliberal or neocons or neo-fascist or Nazi. I don't care what label. They are even worse at it than all the others. But they are also some ironically and critically right on on a few very poignant points, and that is of intolerance, because tolerance is not a firm ideology. It's not even a firm reality. Uh, it's this idea of tolerance that basically says, oh, somebody's out there raping you, or and stabbing you, or killing you, and was supposed to be tolerant, and you've done nothing to merit this. There is no such thing as tolerance in 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 that. When you have your leadership uh, writing in laws and rules and regulations, which basically is the equivalent of being raped or attacked, in danger, putting you in danger of dying. The tolerance is a farce. It's a lie. It's a crime. So but that's the other thing is that the reason why so many things in the West happen is because of this factor of tolerance has been translated into a definition of violence, which again doesn't take into consideration of many things. It's based on a very surface, venal, and and perfectly stupid idea. Like you kick a trash can because let's say your neighbor said something that was truly offensive, and you were angry. Somehow that's violence. You spray paint. That's violence. That's not violence. Violence. You burn down an empty building. That's not violence. Violence is rules and laws and regulations, statutes, and so on and so forth, which which is applied to you, and they are clearly uh, they're clearly been framed in such a way to make you the criminal, to vilify you, or to disadvantage you, or to, for instance, or to send you to go fight a war, so that people who are already have material wealth can gain even more. That is violence. Or uh, or give you the advantage so you can become the foreclosure king and kick a bunch of people out of their homes. Many of them who are actually paying, or had things happen that were not in their control because of the very rules and laws and statutes and regulations that were not that were out of their control, that were completely biased to give and rigged to give advantage to those who already have money, who can talk to the leadership. Uh, that's violence. Uh, anyways, I've done a video before on mass surveillance, but if mass surveillance, the very type that I spoke of on my videos before, is one that is one that even with all the stupid and inane and basically uh, rational way things people are geared to think because of the very propaganda, because of the way that society has been trained to think of themselves. You know, basically the way it works is those so-called leaders, whether they're in whether they're in the so-called business forum or in the political forum or the religious forum, or the education forum, the higher education forum, those who like uh, I, I I forget that idiot's name, but he's a professor, and he comes out of this. He's a Canadian. I think he's a Canadian. I forget. He's been in the uh, news, and as well as in social circles, spreading basically completely insane and stupid and uncritical. But the guy has a degree. This is the sort of things when I talk about the higher education. You got these. He's supposed to be a professor or a doctor or something, and yet he is the least critical thinking person. One of the most least critical thinking people. And it's the same way how you got these journalists who were supposed to who are in the New York Times, the Washington Post, or on TV, um, and they're spouting the same crap, and you can't call it anything other than stupidity and de-evolution. So and so when I talk about surveillance, I'm talking about a very comprehensive surveillance system, which is placed equitably across all boards, with the laws stating that it doesn't matter if you call yourself a president, a senator, a House of Representative, a judge, a DA, a police chief, or the or within a general. You're a general. You're in the you work for an agency, or you're a dog. You're a dog catcher, or you're a priest or a rabbi, or it basically it doesn't matter if you live in the wealthy suburbs, or if you're in the uh, rural poor, if you live in the if you live in a minority community, or whatnot. If you're indigenous, it applies to everybody, and labels mean nothing. And the rules, laws, statutes, and all that other stuff are equal across the board. And it's actually, there's one caveat is that the laws basically state that if you have been privileged to been placed in position to become the the state and federal level, as well as the judicial level, and the and positions where you are part of the law enforcement, and you are high in the hierarchy, uh, then and also if you're members of city councils and or whatever or board, then the laws basically state that for you to do put in try to stick in actions and other rules and regulations and laws that basically go against the across the board equal laws that apply to everybody, then you face even harsher punishment for it. Because, and that would ensure that mass surveillance is not mass surveillance, it's actually a universal measure to put everybody on a level playing field. But mass surveillance also has other ramifications that would be great for society. It would vastly improve our healthcare. It would vastly improve our infrastructure. It would vastly improve how we do manufacturing. It would vastly improve how we have education. It would vastly improve how we have how we how we allocate our financial and other resources. It would vastly improve our intelligence capability to actually get real intelligence in a very comprehensive 360 360-degree way, and it would give us a better understanding so that we can use diplomacy rather than offensive aggression. It would give us it would give us warnings for, say, like the coronavirus right now, well in advance, and we would have a response well before the pandemic, such a coronavirus pandemic could come. We would have done the research to get out a vaccine far faster. We would be able to then turn around and share this knowledge to to stop the coronavirus almost before it started. Uh, we would we would also have it would have a societal change so that we could see work as being more of a mental, physical, and emotional level, and working to get smarter, uh, more wise, and so on and so forth, on a pathway to enlightenment. Uh, we would understand that automation would be a good thing. That rather than having to wake up and go to a job that doesn't fulfill us in a way, in any way, rather than going out prowling to go find someone of the opposite sex, or if you're gay, somebody to have sex with, or drugs, or binge eating, or we could be we could be doing things that will naturally bring us together. We could be having discussions about how to use less land, but give us greater greater amenities that which make our lives easier, so that we can then thereby look into how to cure diseases, or clean our water, and have better air quality, better food quality, better medicines, better philosophy, better basically all of that. With an if and then and how to automate even more, so that more and more of us don't have to do anything except for maybe staying when we're at home. We share the work of cleaning our homes, cooking our foods, and so on and so forth, and have the vast majority of our time to actually learn to do things that will make our collective lives better, that will help to address the health of our planet, our environment, our ecosystem, so that it's better than what we better than what it was. We could be we could be looking to change the way we build our cities and our towns in a way that gives us maximizing for our for our for our for our family needs, and our and our friends' needs. Uh, we could be working on how we can travel longer distances without putting all these roads and railroads and stuff like that, that basically mars and makes our environment and ecosystem worse. We could be discovering how to have new fuels, new energy sources. We could be discovering new ways to produce clothes, or any number of things. We could be solving instead of using nuclear power, we could be solving ways to create power that doesn't produce nuclear waste, which uh, which right now we don't have a way to uh, treat nuclear waste that's not going to go back and come back to bite us in our ass. Uh, or we could be figuring out how to take the stupidly large amounts of nuclear waste, and how to reuse it, and deplete it to the point that it becomes less harmful far far less harmful and less impactful on our ecosystem, which we all need. We could be tackling lots of stuff, and all of this put together, and we could be working to help educate ourselves, because it's good to educate ourselves, to be able to think more critically, and work towards a common goal, and that will naturally bring in a more permanent form of relations, and it would and when our children are born, we're not putting them in metaphorical shackles, and so on and so forth. These all things we could do. These are all things that would be good for us collectively, but we can't have that if we have those who have a demented, libertarian esque, neo con, neoliberal system where, basically all that comes down to is advantage the few, a ridiculously small few, at the expense of the many, and of the very world we all universally must rely on to uh, keep us fed, and so on and so forth. We could be tackling issues about, like, we can how we can develop warp drives so that we can and spaceships that can take us outside of our solar system and find new worlds. We could be also developing spaceships that go out and look for new knowledge, much like Star Trek. Uh, there is just so many ways, and I've talked about ways in how we could build our cities, how we could build our electrical infrastructure, our water infrastructure. Uh, I talked about how with responsible and sane mass surveillance, and how all of the great aspects that come with it, and we can get more and more of us out of having to do with menial labor, and do the actual work of thinking and growing and being invested in curiosity and wanting to learn how that would all come together, and how, if when we do come up with an idea, we don't we don't sell it to somebody who's going to exploit it for their own monetary growth. That idea is sent to the appropriate automation centers, and the automation centers automatically produce it, and so that you can access it and everybody else can access it without expense. This is that would be an awesome future. That is something that we should all strive for. It would give us more fulfillment. It wouldn't have. We'd be talking when we have conversation. We wouldn't be talking about the weather. We wouldn't be talking about, my girlfriend or my my friend said this, or I heard from this person that we wouldn't be talking about this sort of stuff. We'd be talking about we'd be talking about oh, we have this nano particle created by the creation of Teflon, and these are the effects that it has on the environment and on us. Uh, how do we handle it? And we could through automation and connection through through our electronic devices, our smart devices, and so on. So we could be talking not just with the within the local group that is discussing it, but we could be talking with others, and we could be coming up with solutions of how to either take it out or incorporate it in a way that's useful, which is not gonna uh, which is not gonna harm harm us and the very environment we and the planet we need. These are the sort of things that would bring us together. These are the sort of things that would allow us to think. It would it would also give us less stress. It would give us more fulfillment. We would start to see that work is not just going out and doing physical labor or mental and physical labor to profit a few. We would understand that work and life are one and the same, because when we work to think and apply that with labor, which brings us skill, which brings us greater understanding, which gives us more solid ties, natural ties, that we don't have to be do peacocking. We don't have to try to my look at this monster size of my dick, or oh I or I got a boob jobs, so I'd be more. All this sort of stuff would be looked at as silly and stupid. We would have a better understanding that physical matters less than the mental and emotional that affects the physical, which I call the spirit. The three put together, it gives us greater critical thinking, greater intelligence, and thereby into wisdom, and then thereby into enlightenment, and then wisdom, and then further and further and further. That should be the work we all should want. We all should be doing, because all of it, all the others, is basically nothing more than slavery. It's putting voluntary shackles on us, on ourselves, and bowing down to the master or king or noble. How is what we might as well be nothing more than animals, uh, in the slaughterhouse. If that's the case, we we need to want more, and that more should be what I have been discussing on this video. But in order for us to have that, we have to start knowing what we want, coming together, and understanding all of the critical nuances which keeps us separate, which makes us vulnerable to the predatory behavior of a few. This that allows the idea of tolerance, which is basically intolerant, to become pervasive. We have to get rid of this notion of I want to be special. I want to be normal. Because what we do is not normal. It's self-destructive. It is inflicted, and we must want to aspire to be what I've been talking about. Aspirations is not. I see aspirations in the way I've been talking about in this video. Not to make $1 million or $1 billion or $1 trillion. Not to have a big fancy house or drive the big fancy cars or to have the supermodel on my arm or being able to point out and say, hey, I'll give you $500 if you have sex with me. I'll give you $1 million if you have sex with me. Uh, those aren't aspirations. Those are metaphorical jails. Those are viral sickness which destroys the mental, emotional, and physical, which is a spirit. It destroys the spirit. Yes, we do need to have physical, some physical, but it'll be more, it'd be better in the way I see the path that we must be taking, because it will be more natural. It will be more connecting. Uh, it will be more fulfilling, and we won't be acting like rutting animals. The ones that we so look down upon, because physicality is natural, but we won't have this warped idea that physicality is somehow immoral. You know the reason why physicality and all that, it's because when we masturbate, when we have sex, which is when we do drugs and so on and so forth, it's to get a endorphin or some other chemical release, because we exist in a societal pen, this illusionary societal box, which requires us to find some way to get a very, very temporary release, to give us a sense that we still exist. And in the system we live in, we need more. This is why rumors and why we had a time where the on TV you had this so-called doctor, an expert, come on and saying that are rumors and gossiping is good, but it isn't. That's that's something that that's something that our societal understanding, the limit, a very very limited way of living. Well, it's not even living; it's existence. These are the shallow things, shallow, unnecessary, and destructive things, which which keeps us, which makes us do self harm, whether it's mental or physical or emotional. This is why we have some men beating their girlfriends and their wives and their children. This is why we have an explosion in pedophilia. It's all interconnected. Understand, if we really want to live and not just to exist and be boxed in, then we have to start thinking in terms that I've been discussing on this video. Thank you.